Another code Recollection for the Nintendo Switch may actually be one of the very best games for helping you learn Japanese with, especially for beginners. And it may even potentially take the #1 spot on my current tier list. Definitely a strong contender for a great game to be your first game to play Japanese in. So let's have a look at the game and see what it's about.
行った方がいいんじゃないか?
行ってくるね。
Now this game is actually a remake of both the first and the second game that was released on the DS and the Wii. However, with much better graphics, completely redone with voice acting and everything. Now this game is kind of like playing a mystery novel. You're trying to unlock some secrets with the main character's memory, as well as explore the area and solve puzzles. And so when the game starts, there are some cutscenes, and unfortunately these cutscenes you cannot pause. However, don't worry, you can actually replay all of the audio in the cutscenes with the log. This game does have a chat log or a backlog where you can see every single piece of dialogue for not only the dialogue, but even when you interact with objects and try and solve puzzles, all of that text is available in the log. It's really, really good. And as you may have noticed, all of this text has furigana on top of it, making it incredibly easy for anyone to be able to read. There is one slight downside. As you can see, the font is this kind of fantasy font, and it does make it a little bit difficult to read. However, this is a very, very common font, so it's definitely a really good game to help you get used to this font. You're definitely going to see this font all over the place, especially if you're playing games in Japanese, so it's definitely worthwhile to get used to. And thanks to the fact that it has furigana, it's never too impossible to read. So yes, that is correct. This game has both furigana and logs with replayable audio. Oh, and it's also almost completely voice acted as well. As you can see, this is a really good game for learning Japanese with. Now the story is quite interesting, as it's kind of like playing a mystery novel. There's these really nice cutscenes, really beautiful graphics, and even the environments, especially for the Nintendo Switch, the environments look quite nice. They really nailed the art style, it just looks really good. Now the cutscenes you may not be able to pause, although you can re-look at all the words in the log, so you can just watch the cutscene and then go through the log and study it that way. But then all of the other dialogue is push to continue, so you can take all of that at your own pace. And a lot of that dialogue is also voice acted. Sometimes it's not, especially when you're thinking about something or looking at an object, or even some characters' additional speech, but the general story is completely voice acted. Now there are some tricky little puzzles. I had such a tough time with this chair right here with the kind of motion controls and everything, trying to get the key to fall out. It's very, very annoying. So just be aware there are some puzzles in this game, but it's nice and it's interactive. And one thing I really like about this game is because you're kind of interacting with the environments and you're looking around at, ooh, how do I cross this river? And then you're trying to find the solution for how to cross the river, wataru. You get to see the Japanese word used in context, and so you really build this strong connection for the piece of vocabulary and how it's used. And this is quite unique really, as normally dialogue is just conversation. Because this game is a kind of mystery, adventure solving puzzles game, you actually kind of interact with the language and you see it being used, making it ideal for a language learner. One thing I also noticed is the level of the language isn't too difficult. I was quite surprised. As I was playing the game, I was trying to look for N3 grammar examples for my complete N3 grammar video, and it actually kind of took me a little while to even find any. There is a ton of N5 and N4 vocabulary, and one thing I noticed is I don't think there's really any language in this game that isn't applicable for other games or other situations. Meaning there's very, very, very little terminology used that's only limited to this game. And this is a huge plus for another code. The reason why, and why perhaps this may be one of the very best games for beginners, is if you think about most other beginner games that are really good that get recommended, like Pokemon, Yokai Watch, or games that are really accessible that I really love, like Dragon Quest XI with having furigana and push to continue scenes and everything. However, the downsides of those games is that there is a ton of language that is really only used in those game worlds, like Pokemon and the names of their attacks and things like that. Or like Yokai with weird ways of characters talking, and a lot of slang and all this kind of interesting language. But it makes it really difficult for a beginner. Same thing for Dragon Quest with a lot of fantasy language. This game, none of that. Almost all of the language in this game is useful for every other context. This is really special. So the game's language in itself is very beginner friendly, and that's quite rare. Not only that, it has furigana, voice acting, push to continue, replayable audio with the chat logs. Yes, this game I think perhaps may even be the first S+ tier game. This game is incredible for a language learner. Really, the only negative that I experienced while playing the demo was this font. That's it. Once you can get over the hurdle of this font, there really is no negative for this game. Except perhaps you can't pause the cutscenes, but you can replay it in the log, so it's totally fine. So what do you think? I think this game is absolutely incredible and definitely highly recommend checking out yourself. And there's really no downsides to checking it out because there's a demo that you can download right now and try it out. Also, if you do happen to choose to buy the game, you can actually use the tickets when you buy the 2 tickets and you get the games for like a cheap price. This game is included in that deal, so that's really good. You can already get this game for a cheaper price if you're using Nintendo Online. The demo also goes through the whole first opening chapter, so you get about an hour and a half of gameplay completely free. So really, honestly, if you're thinking about playing a game in Japanese and you're not sure what you want to play for your first game, I highly recommend this game.
私、ジェシカを見つけなきゃいけないんだ。さあ、行こう。
And so if we were to look at the tier placement, really, I would have to put this game in the S tier, no question. There are only 2 negatives that I can say about this game. The font and that you can't pause cutscenes. That's it. But as I've already said previously, the cutscenes you can replay the audio afterwards, and the font is something you probably should just get used to because you're going to be seeing this fantasy font used all over the place. Now, I personally think the level of the language is very accessible. Everything that I experienced was around the N5 to the N4. There was the occasional noun, like objects in the game, like the gamepad thing she has, but that's not really difficult. It's just like one word. I would personally put this game as a very easy, actually probably the easiest game in language-wise that I've come across. It just has to be easier than Pokemon and Yokai Watch because there's none of that monster terminology and strange slang and all that kind of stuff. It's all really normal everyday language. This game is great for even if you're just trying to study Japanese for school or the JLPT or something. Really, all of this language is really useful. So I'd have to put it at the very top of the list, and I can't actually think of any game that I could rank higher than this game currently. Like Famicom Detective's pretty similar in the fact that it has furigana and a log, which is really nice. But the language is just so much harder because it is a detective game where you're kind of having these long conversations and there's keigo and lots of difficult speech. This game doesn't really have any of that. Highly recommended. I'm so glad the developers decided to remake this game. Absolutely surprised me, but it is so good. I really hope there's more games like this in the future. I'm looking at you, level 5. You guys have so many games that could fit in this category, and it'd just be so great to see more of these type of games. Now, when I analyzed the first 20 minutes of text with J-readability, it did actually put the language at a difficult score. I don't agree with that particular assessment, so make sure to check it out yourself, maybe try the demo or watch a let's play or something before you decide if this language is too difficult or not. So in summary, the game has voice acting, push to continue, furigana, replayable audio, a backlog for all the dialogue, low-level, accessible, useful language, and the game has a demo so you can play it for free and figure out if you like it or not. Absolutely perfect. I could not give this game a higher recommendation.
Huh?
So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to see what you guys think about this game. And if you can think of perhaps any other good beginner games for learning Japanese with, make sure to let me know down in the comments. I'm always happy to find new games that are really good for learning Japanese with. Now, just very quickly, I showed you a little bit of my spreadsheet here. I'm kind of compiling a list for games that are good for studying Japanese with. I've noticed there's not really any resource out there on the internet that kind of show you what a game actually is like playing in Japanese, whether it's push to continue, voice acting, furigana, things like that. And I also had a previous list with all these game scripts and everything, as well as my tier list for game placements. And so I've decided just to compile it all together, create one big resource. So I'll leave a link down in the description if you want to check it out. And you can also help me build this resource by submitting games that you know of by using the Google Forms here. And all you need to do is just fill out the Google form with some details about the game, and then I can add it to the list. And so we can create the ultimate list of games that are good for learning Japanese with, helping everyone figure out what games they want to try out playing in Japanese. As well as maybe even have a little bit of a ranking of which games are easy and which games are difficult. Although it's always really difficult to kind of create a score for a game. As we just saw in this video, I would say this game's probably the easiest I've ever come across, and yet systems like J-readability put it at a little bit more difficult. So it's a very kind of subjective thing. But if you were to categorize it in kind of easy, medium, hard, it's definitely easy. So thanks so much guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. There's a lot more coming. As I said, I'm working on the complete N3 grammar video right now, so I'm working hard away trying to get lots and lots of examples and create this huge video with 210 grammar points. All of it in one video, so I hope you guys look forward to that. Thanks so much guys for watching. Thanks so much guys for supporting the channel, especially the people over in the Game Gengo Discord community. If you want to help support the channel, you can come join us either through Patreon or through the Game Gengo website. Come get some help with your Japanese, meet some like-minded people, and just have fun. And you can also directly connect with me, hang out in streams, and all kinds of stuff. So thanks so much guys for watching. As always, I'll see you again in the next video. See you guys.
わあ、綺麗な湖。これがジュリエットレイク。